Show us something, LeBron, man. Please show us that again. That's a little bit of Dominique off one leg.
Even with the minuscule chances an athlete actually makes it to the NBA, there's no guarantee that they're going to be a starter and earn hundreds of millions, top the charts as an all-star, and receive all that paramount fame. However, just being in the NBA can give you some major leverage when negotiating contracts, and many of those negotiations result in some very handsome monetary outcomes. And others, well, they're just plain ridiculous. So here are the craziest trade demands in NBA history. So share this video, give us a like, and subscribe. Michael Jordan, the dawn of contract terms. Speaking of the NBA Space Jam superstar, every other player in the game today is compared to him. So the world was shocked when he retired just after his championship season in 1993. He wanted to pursue a career in baseball. To step down at that height of his popularity and clout to demand virtually any sizable contract he demanded, people thought he was nuts. While folks at the time didn't consider that the Bulls owner Jerry Reinsdorf also owned the Chicago White Sox. So that minor league affiliated team was still able to pay Air Jordan the $4 million he would have earned by remaining in the NBA. And when he returned to the NBA, his influence, he was able to assure that his contract allowed him to play whenever he wanted and under whatever conditions that he deemed appropriate, whether it be in exhibitions or charity projects or on the court with school kids. This is another reason why Air Jordan was the dawn. Glenn Davis. We are all fully aware that it's not unusual to hear about offensive linemen in the NFL having weight-related clauses in their multi-million-dollar contracts. But in the case of NBA players, this is very rare. Yet the Boston Celtics signed Davis to a 2-year, $6 million contract in 2009, and one of the terms included was a $500,000 weight loss challenge. Davis, who is nicknamed Big Baby, has played for the Orlando Magic and the Los Angeles Clippers, and although they wanted him big, they didn't want him too big. Baron Davis. Psychologically, which is most effective, punishment or reward? I've always been fond of the incentive, and the Clippers thought a reward system was most effective too. Baron Davis, B. Diddy, the Baron, Too Easy, is a very physical ball player who was able to rebound and reject the ball with his smacking blocks. So when the Clippers offered the Baron a $1 million bonus, he stepped up. All he had to do was play in 70 games and win at least 30 of them. Well, he ended up playing in 75 games, but the Clippers were only able to win 29 games that year. Mario Chalmers. The Minnesota Timberwolves selected Chalmers in the second round of the 2008 NBA Draft. Soon after, he was traded to Miami. During his time with the Miami Heat, Chalmers was offered $19,580 to show up to Summer League workouts and participate in the skill and conditioning program. Although the name sounds strange, maybe it worked because Chalmers averaged 20 points per game, helping the Miami Heat bag 2 back-to-back championships. Tony Batty. In another case of cash-based stimulus, the Nets included some performance incentive in Batty's contract in 2009. All he had to do was play in 50 games and average 8 rebounds to get $100,000. Plus, he'd be awarded another $100,000 if he also averaged 5 free throw attempts. Not just 5 free throw scores, just attempts. And if he was active for 50 games and his team made it to the playoffs, another $100,000 would be added to his bank. Unfortunately, Batty never averaged more than 1.8 free throw attempts a game. At his best, he averaged 6.5 rebounds a game, and the Nets, well, they didn't even come close to getting to the playoffs. Matt Bonner. You've surely heard of Kobe Bryant, aka the Black Mamba. Well, have you heard of Matt Bonner, aka the Red Mamba? Rather than give him an incentive for shooting, well, from the free throw line, 3-point line, and from the field, the Spurs gave Bonner one in 2010 if his average for all three equaled 169. He hadn't come particularly close to the mark before, and he didn't make it then either. He averaged 157 and therefore could not avail to the incentive. Nick Collison. The power forward Nick Collison was an award-winning player in college, so expectations were high for him to grab an MVP in the NBA. In his contract, a $100,000 bonus would have been given to him if he actually did fulfill that expectation. Woefully, he never came close to that achievement. Rafer Alston. To reap a $325,000 bonus, Alston only had to become an All-Star. Alston worked hard at it, but never did become that All-Star. Analytically, popular players score more than 14.2 points a game and make profound impacts for their team franchise. Alston failed in both aspects as he bounced to and from 6 different teams in 11 years. Luke Ridnour. The power forward Ridnour is forever remembered as the guy who was traded 4 times in 6 days back in 2015. This is an outstanding feat, like Britney Spears being married for only 3 days. But being traded so much probably wasn't too bad, as he had a clause in his contract with Seattle to be paid $1.5 million if he was named Defensive Player of the Year. Again, that achievement never happened. Larry Hughes. Larry Hughes is the perfect example of a crucial journeyman NBA player. Larry Hughes was signed by Cleveland to a 5-year, $70 million contract in 2005 to support the King LeBron James and lead his team to glory. So confident that he would be a huge help, they included a $1.6 million bonus if the team won 55 games in the 2009-2010 season. Before that, the NBA journeyman was traded during the 2007-2008 season to the Chicago Bulls, who then traded him to the New York Knicks during the following season. And during that 2009-2010 season, he was traded yet again to the Sacramento Kings, who won 25 games that year. Bill Walton. Inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1993, Bill Walton had previously played for the San Diego Clippers, and Bill Walton had quite a few unique clauses included in his contract, but one of the most notable terms was the one involving the boss, Bruce Springsteen. Walton wanted 8 tickets to each of Springsteen's 7 sold-out shows at the Sports Arena that October. Although he didn't demand that the team pay for the tickets, his demand was for the franchise to simply acquire them so he could pay face value for them. Vince Carter. Long before the time of Chris Bosh and DeMar DeRozan, Vince Carter was considered to be the greatest player in Toronto Raptors history, and still is if you ask several people. He was undoubtedly the main reason the NBA became so popular in Canada during the early 2000s, giving rise to the Canadian NBA hype that leads us up to the point of being what it is nowadays. Carter, who was dubbed half man, half amazing, felt that his talents could reach maximum potential in a bigger market because he was not able to compete for the NBA championship. So he forced some power moves to get traded to the New Jersey Nets, where he had some of the best years of his career. Kyrie Irving. The ankle taker, Mr. Fourth Quarter, Mr. Overtime, Kyrie Irving decided to move from under the shadow of the King, LeBron James. He demanded a trade out of the Cleveland Cavaliers in the offseason to be a team's go-to guy once again. Eventually, Kyrie went to the Boston Celtics and was playing at an MVP level before suffering a season-ending injury. To this day, NBA analysts and fans alike ponder how he urged to give up the chance to be on the King's court. Hakeem Olajuwon. In 1993, Hakeem Olajuwon demanded to be traded out of the Houston Rockets due to a conflict with the team's front office. And the repercussions after the Rockets' doctors cleared him to play with a hamstring injury, he refused to dress for the team and then jeopardized his career. Wisely, Houston refused to trade him, and he would go on to win back-to-back titles with the Rockets, which made him one of the most powerful influences to dominate a Michael Jordan-less NBA. Shaquille O'Neal. After an embarrassing loss to the Detroit Pistons in the finals when Shaq was part of the Los Angeles Lakers, he decided to finally put an end to his personal feud with Kobe Bryant by demanding a trade out of the team in 2004. The Kobe and Shaq quarrel seemed an ongoing friction, and unity seemed complicated even in the team's locker room. Eventually, the Shaq attack was traded to the Miami Heat, where he'd win another championship alongside Dwayne Wade. Kobe Bryant. In 2007, right after Shaquille O'Neal left the Los Angeles Lakers, the team's progress became stale with a roster filled with borderline amateur players, which frustrated Kobe to the point where he wanted off the team. Kobe was very close to being traded to the Chicago Bulls, then the Lakers retracted the deal and found grounds to keep the Mamba. After getting focused and rising to the occasion as the leader of the team, he finally led the Lakers to win 2 championships and reach the prestige of the best players for the franchise, the NBA, and the world. Which cause of contracts do you think is the most interesting, and which ones do you think should have never been offered? Drop your notes in the comment section, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. See you next time.